The Golden Ship of Virtue. Long ago, two travelers set out on a great sea voyage across the Indian Ocean. Sumathor was a gentle pilgrim who carried nothing but his prayer beads and a heart full of kindness. Keshava was a practical barber who carried his tools and dreamed of finding fortune in distant lands. But one terrible night, a great storm arose. Massive waves crashed over the ship, and lightning split the sky. The wooden ship broke apart, and everyone was thrown into the wild, churning sea. Sumathor and Keshava grabbed onto a wooden plank and held on for dear life. After floating for days, the two exhausted men washed ashore on a mysterious island. It was beautiful but deserted, with strange colorful birds and towering palm trees. Keshava was so hungry that he caught some birds and cooked them over a fire. He offered food to Sumathor, but the pilgrim gently refused. "Why won't you eat?" asked Keshava, puzzled. Sumathor closed his eyes and said softly, "In this lonely place, there is only one thing that can truly save us, the power of goodness itself. I will keep my heart pure and pray." With that, Sumathor sat in meditation, filling his mind with thoughts of compassion and virtue. As Sumathor's prayers grew deeper, something magical began to happen. The ground trembled, and the ocean nearby began to glow. A magnificent golden serpent king, the Naga, rose from beneath the island. His emerald-green scales shimmered with gold, and a jeweled crown sat upon his great head. He had felt the power of Sumathor's pure heart. Before their amazed eyes, the great Naga king transformed the ocean waters into the most magnificent ship they had ever seen. Its hull was made of gleaming gold, its masts were carved from sapphire, the anchor was solid gold, and the ropes shimmered like woven silver. A glowing treasure chest sat on its deck, filled with jewels and gold coins. Then an ethereal sea spirit appeared at the helm of the golden ship. His body was translucent blue-green like the ocean itself, and he held a golden rudder. "This ship has been summoned by the power of virtue," he announced. "Come aboard, pilgrim." But when Keshava tried to follow, the spirit blocked his way. "You lack virtue. You may not board." Keshava fell to his knees in despair. "Please don't leave me here alone," he cried. Sumathor looked at his companion with deep compassion. Though Keshava had not lived virtuously, Sumathor could not bear to leave him behind. So the pilgrim made a remarkable choice. He shared his own virtue with Keshava, saying, "I give him all the goodness I have gathered." The moment Sumathor shared his goodness, a brilliant golden light surrounded Keshava. The sea spirit stepped aside with a bow. "Compassion is the greatest virtue of all," he whispered. Keshava climbed aboard the golden ship, overwhelmed with gratitude. The magnificent vessel began to sail across the shimmering ocean, carrying them both safely home. The golden ship brought them safely to the city of Benares, and the sea spirit blessed them both with great wealth. As they stepped ashore, Keshava turned to Sumathor with tears in his eyes and said, "You saved me when I did not deserve it." Sumathor smiled and replied, "True goodness is not just for ourselves, it is meant to be shared. Keep company with the good, and goodness will find you too." Moral: true goodness is meant to be shared. Keep company with the virtuous, and their light will guide you too. The Greedy Young Parrot. High in the mountains of ancient India, in a great fig tree, there lived an old parrot and his wife. The father parrot had once been the leader of a great flock, strong and wise. But now his eyes had grown cloudy and dim, and he could no longer fly to find food. His dear wife, too, had grown weak with age. Their only joy was their son, a bright, strong young parrot with brilliant green feathers. Every morning, the young parrot flew out to find food for his aging parents. He gathered berries, seeds, and sweet fruits, carrying them back in his beak. "Thank you, my son," the old father would say. "You are our wings now." The young parrot was proud to help, but deep inside, he longed for adventure beyond the familiar forest. One clear morning, the young parrot perched on the highest peak of the mountain. Far, far across the shimmering blue ocean, he spotted something that made his heart race: a distant island covered in mango trees. The mangoes glowed golden in the sunlight, more beautiful than anything he had ever seen. "I must go there," he thought excitedly. The young parrot flew across the wide ocean and landed on the magical island. Oh, what a paradise! The mango trees were heavy with the juiciest, sweetest mangoes he had ever tasted. He ate until his belly was full, then carefully carried one back across the sea for his parents. "Try this, father," he said proudly. His father took one bite and his old eyes widened with recognition. "My son," said the old parrot with a trembling voice, "I know this mango. I know this island. Long ago, when I was young and strong, many parrots flew to that island for its fruit. But the journey across the ocean is too far and too dangerous. Many parrots who went there never came back. Promise me you will never go again." But the young parrot only half listened, already dreaming of those sweet, golden mangoes. Day after day, the young parrot flew back to the mango island, ignoring his father's pleas. He gorged himself on sweet fruit until his belly was round and heavy. "Just one more trip," he would tell himself each time. "Father worries too much. I am strong. I am fast. Nothing can happen to me." He grew more reckless with each visit, eating more and staying longer. One fateful evening, the young parrot ate far too many mangoes. His belly was so full and heavy that he could barely fly. But the sun was setting, and he had to get home before dark. He grabbed one last mango in his beak and launched himself over the ocean. Halfway across, his wings grew tired. The heavy mango in his beak dragged him down. He fought to stay in the air, but his eyes grew heavy, and he began to fall toward the dark, churning waves below. The mango slipped from his beak and splashed into the waves. A moment later, the exhausted young parrot tumbled into the cold dark sea and was swept away by the current, never to be seen again. Back in the nest, the old parrot and his wife waited and waited, but their son never returned. If only he had listened, the old father whispered sadly. "The sweetest fruit means nothing if it costs you everything you have." Moral: ignoring wise counsel and giving in to greed leads to ruin. The Farmer and the Block of Gold. Long ago, in a small village near the great city of Benares, there lived a humble farmer. He was poor but hardworking, spending every day from sunrise to sunset plowing his fields and tending to his crops. Though he had very little, he was always kind and generous to his neighbors, sharing whatever he could spare. One morning, the farmer decided to plow a field on the edge of the village where an ancient settlement had once stood. The ground there was rocky and overgrown, and no one had farmed it for many years. "Perhaps there is good soil beneath these old ruins," the farmer thought as he guided his ox and plow through the hard earth. Suddenly, the plow struck something hard with a loud clang. The farmer stopped his ox and knelt down to dig with his hands. His eyes grew wide with amazement. There, buried deep in the earth, was an enormous bar of solid gold. It was as thick as a man's thigh and as long as the farmer was tall. It gleamed brilliantly in the morning sun, the most magnificent treasure he had ever seen. The farmer tried to lift the gold bar, but it was far too heavy. He pulled and tugged with all his might, but the enormous block would not budge. He wrapped his arms around it and heaved, but it was like trying to lift a boulder. The farmer sat back, panting and tired. "What good is the greatest treasure in the world," he sighed, "if I cannot even carry it home?" The farmer sat quietly and thought. He looked at the gold bar, then at his hands, then at the small tools he had brought with him. Slowly, a clever idea formed in his mind. "I may not be able to carry this whole bar at once," he said to himself with a growing smile, "but what if I don't have to? What if I cut it into smaller pieces?" It was such a simple idea, yet so wise. With great care, the farmer used his tools to divide the enormous gold bar into 4 equal pieces. Now each piece was small enough for him to carry. He wrapped the first piece in cloth, hoisted it onto his shoulder, and happily walked home. Then he came back for the second piece, then the third, and finally the fourth. By sunset, all 4 pieces of gold were safely inside his humble home. The farmer used 1 piece of gold for his family's needs, 1 piece he saved wisely for the future, 1 piece he used to improve his farm, and the 4th piece he shared generously with his neighbors and the poor of the village. He built a well for the village, fed the hungry, and helped anyone in need. The once poor farmer became the most beloved person in the entire village. And so the wise farmer lived happily for many years, all because of one simple idea. When the enormous block of gold seemed impossible to move, he did not give up and walk away. Instead, He found a way to break the impossible task into smaller, manageable pieces. And that is the secret of the wise. Even the heaviest burden becomes light when you take it one piece at a time. Moral: even the heaviest burden becomes light when you break it into smaller pieces.